My name is Tom. I'm part of Sokpop, which is a video game collective. We make a lot of games. We make one game every month, and we've been doing so for the past 3 years. My game Hellblusser is a fast-paced, hot action adventure game in which you travel to hell to extinguish it. One of the main goals for me was to create this very simple yet juicy core of the game. So I wanted to make sure that hitting things would be really satisfying, and that's also why there's this simplistic cartoony style, because the game is quite aggressive, but I wanted to contrast that with this welcoming visuals to make it feel a bit more cute, I guess. So the story of Hellblusser is as follows. It's about a prince who is sent to hell by the moon to extinguish it. So it sounds really simple, and in my mind it is also really simple, and that's because I wanted the game to be entirely simple, but still have room for people to make up their own stories within those boundaries. What inspired me most to make Hellblusser was the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, which is a game I played when I was younger, and it has a really quirky first-person combat system, and I wanted to make something like that, but more juicy and less clunky, and a bit more polished. It took me, I think, 4 months to make Hellblusser. Or no, 3 I think, because 1 month was watching football, maybe 3 months and 2 weeks or something. So usually when I start out making games, I start with this idea for graphics. So it's often not gameplay related, my concepts, but more visually. So I knew that I wanted to try this cartoony style someday, but I didn't know for what. And then I was making Toverblade, another of my games, and it was very complex, so I wanted to make something really simple after that. So I started coming up with ideas for simple game mechanics that would accompany this appealing graphical style. But I started making the visuals first, so the shaders and the colors and all the shapes, round shapes and stuff. Yeah, so I think in a way you could say I just make like these 3D mood boards, and they are not really interactive yet, but you can just run them and then see what it looks like, and maybe you can look around or walk around, but there's nothing you can do. But it helps for me to, if my idea is quite fake, to walk through it and then see what will come up in my mind for gameplay related decisions. So after this mood boards phase, I usually have 1 week of struggling to think of ways to make it a game, I guess. But it really depends on the game, because for Hellblusser it was quite obvious that the main mechanics would be like a combat system. So things you need is like enemies. You need to have a game over state or something, a clear goal. I think the biggest challenge early on was the whole rendering of the style, because I wanted to have a lot of light sources and shadows, but also have this cartoony outline aesthetic. And my laptop is not that good, so it had to be really optimized. Another thing I struggled with was generating the levels, because for some reason I wasn't really able to do it. Like every level needs like a start and an end, and maybe a big boss fight room or a treasury chamber. And I'm not that good at programming. Like I can do a lot of things, but not really fast. So I really struggled with generating those levels, and to make sure there's like a small level, but also a possibility for big levels, and that there are no like dead ends, or that people wouldn't be able to complete those. So one of the things that was quite new for me as a designer was that I knew what I was making, because it was really simple, the core. And I also put a lot of effort into making sure that the loop of the game would be interesting for like 3 hours instead of only half an hour, which is not something I usually do. It's mostly my games are mostly like a linear experience, and it's more about sound and visuals. And now I felt more like a designer, like, how would I trick the player into playing this for a couple more hours? So that's why I had to design all these things, like you can buy items at a shop, and they all do something unique or really different things, and also a lot of different encounters, like enemies and obstacles. I think one of the most interesting things for me about Hellblusser is that the music I made is cut into separate layers. So when you're at the start of the level, it would be just one instrument, and then if you would see an enemy or it would come close to you, it would add another instrument. So it's like this dynamic build up and also build down. And I don't think it's really noticeable that much, but it's in the game, so I think that's pretty cool. So I think there's still a lot of things I could do for Hellblusser. Like I said, more non-linear storylines, more unique encounters or locations, like make the game wider and not longer. More levels. I really want to make a moon level. That would be really cool. I'm quite happy with how Hellblusser turned out to be, because it looks and feels like the game I imagined, I think, the most of all my Patreon games. And what I also really like is that I started making the music for it early on, like a couple weeks before making the game, and I think the style of the music really influenced the design and the whole game, really. So I think it really blends together really well. I think it has this whole, for me, this whole, its whole. Like it has the graphics and fun gameplay, good audio, and it was relatively on time, and I did some playtesting, and it's simple, so I'm really proud of it. Yeah. If you like this video, please consider joining our Patreon. For $3 you will get a new game every month, and also one of our older games. And for $5 you will get the games and more videos like this one.